Hello, it's Bailey and welcome back to my channel. You are here now to see my card flips for round 5 episode 3 of Jokes on Me, so let's go ahead and see those. Okay, I am back for round 5 episode 3. Our game piece today is this little, it's like a little screw and I am leaving from finish a series here. To complete this round I need to get back to book club. So let's see where this takes us. I am just going to get the cards off the top from the last round. And 3 card flips. Here we go. Firstly, a jack, so I will unhaul a book. Then a 3, which for a 3, I do all 3 prompts that I land on. So I will be doing least popular. And then I'm gaining a readathon, which I need to catch up on those, so that's nice. And then a new release. One more card. A 2, and so I go 1, 2, and that lands me on longest book. And for a 2, I do the prompt twice, so I'll be reading 2 long books. So let me go figure out what I'm going to read and I'll be right back with you. And so based on that, this is going to be a fairly long round. So here's what I've chosen. For least popular, I have chosen The Prince of Broadway by Joanna Shupe. On my shelf, this had like the lowest amount of ratings. That's how I choose least popular, is based on the number of ratings. Let me check how many it actually has. This book currently has about 3,600 ratings, so this definitely qualifies for that. And then for new release, I'm going to take this opportunity to actually read an arc, and I'm going to read Dark Corners by Megan Golden. I believe this comes out very soon. It'll probably come out while I'm in the midst of filming this, so hopefully I can get it read and a review posted before it comes out, or like somewhere in that appropriate time frame. This is the sequel to The Night Swim, and I've been sitting on this arc for quite a while, so it would be nice to get that kind of off my list as well. And then I'm going to be reading the longest book on my TBR twice. I do let myself pick from like the top 3 or so, and so I am going to be choosing And Never Let Her Go by Ann Rule. Technically right now on my shelves I don't have anything over 500 pages, I don't believe, that isn't a sequel to something that I need to read first. My copy of this has a little less than 500 pages, but the mass market paperback of this is like almost 800 pages long, I think, or like somewhere in that like 700-800 page range. So this is chunky, even if my copy isn't. I know this will be a dense read, and so I'm choosing this. And then for the second one, I'm choosing to pick something, I guess, that isn't technically on my physical TBR, but it's something I have to read because it is the Shelf This Book Club for the month of, the months are so jumbled for me right now, for the month of September, and that is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. That I believe is just over 500 pages, so it's definitely longer than like a lot of the other things that are actually on my shelf that I could choose. So I'm gonna go ahead and work that one in. And then I think based on when my hold is gonna come in, that for my choice book, I'm going to be choosing to read Happy Place by Emily Henry. So that should be a good time as well. Pink books. Shout out to Danielle, it's the year of pink books. I figure I might as well do my unhauling right now as well. And so I'm sitting in front of the TBR cart. I've kind of been looking at this. I looked at what's down on the shelf and I think I know what I want to unhaul. This is getting so hard the more I have to do it. Obviously, I want to keep more and more of these books, but these are the consequences I have for letting myself sit on some of these books for so long. If you didn't see what I just pulled off of the shelf, I grabbed Who is Maud Dixon by Alexandra Andrews. Don't think I even knew who this was by, so I clearly don't think about it that often. I know this is like a mystery thriller type situation. I was really excited. I believe I heard one creator really talk highly of this, and so it got put on my radar that way. I bought it, but I don't find myself like thinking about this often, and I don't honestly really know what it even is. So I think if this leaves me, it won't cross my mind very often, or I won't be very regretful of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and unhaul this from my TBR. And then I also did go ahead and grab from my red shelf. I have been going shelf by shelf, but the shelf I was on is, to be honest, like the one shoved kind of back in my junk corner, so I didn't want to show it to you. But it was basically through author last name K through M, and there's some long series in there. It's the start of my Sarah J Maas collection. I have like the Legend series by Marie Lu. I have my David Levithan book, so there's a lot of kind of my favorites there or series sitting there. But there was also Six Crimson Crayons by Elizabeth Lim, which is a little bittersweet to get rid of. I know that my experience reading this during the Shelf This Book Club was so high and that so many of us actually enjoyed it. I believe I gave this like a 4.5 stars, but I DNF'd the sequel. I was so bored I didn't find myself caring, so I know that I'm not going to circle back to this series ever, so it's time for it to go. It's also kind of chunky and I like clearing that like larger space from my shelf, so that's what's leaving today. I have started and completed Dark Corners by Megan Golden, and I'm giving it 4 stars. I definitely didn't like it as much as The Night Swim. It's been a hot minute since I read The Night Swim, and so like I didn't remember the characters or anything much, so it really just felt like its own thing. But I loved The Night Swim and I thought this one was fun. I had not read a thriller in such a long time, so it was kind of just like a good time to get into and read something different than what I've been reading. So I think had I read like a bunch of thrillers leading up to this, I may not have thought it was as good or like enjoyed it as much as I did. I do think that the setting of it being like at kind of an influencer like convention, as well as it being about a serial killer, so there is multiple murders that they're almost trying to like connect, was very interesting. I think that was like very fun to follow, but there's also things in this that are just like unbelievable in terms of like the relationship between our main character, who is like a podcaster, and her relationship with the investigative team. I think is unrealistic, and how much information they let her be like privy to, I think is just not realistically how that would go in real life. But yeah, overall it was a good fun time of a thriller. Like I said, I gave that 4 stars. I'm not sure what I'll be reading next. I have a couple big things obviously that I need to start. Hello. I am on the main floor of my house and my dishwasher is running, so if you can hear that, I'm sorry, but right now is when I have the time and feel motivated to film a clip, so that's when and how you're gonna get it. I do need to admit I have felt pretty unmotivated to film, but I have not been unmotivated to read. So today I probably will, in various stages of my hair drying, just be updating you on the books I've been reading. And so first I need to tell you that for my choice book, I did finish Happy Place by Emily Henry. I believe I gave that 3.5 stars. It might have just been a 3.5, somewhere in there. It was really enjoyable. I did read Book Lovers not that long ago, and I definitely enjoyed this one more. I do think that Emily Henry is kind of falling into like her books all being very similar, which is fine because it's tropes that I like she loves to do friends to lovers, she loves to include vacation, but the things I'm not enjoying is that she often like this second chance situation, which this book is very similar to People We Meet on Vacation in my opinion, and the second chance aspect is kind of kept secret as to why like it didn't work out in the past, is kept secret for a majority of the book, and then like the reason they're not together isn't that serious or like that groundbreaking or surprising, so it seems kind of silly to keep it a secret, I guess. Do you like to listen to mommy talk? Hi sweetie. But if you don't know what Happy Place is about, basically it is this couple and they have recently like called off their engagement, broken up, but they haven't told any of their friends that they broke up, and so they're supposed to go on this like vacation that they take with their friends every year, and they decide to like continue to not tell their friends that they're broken up, so they kind of like pretend that they're still together, and so through pretending that they're still together, they're forced to spend a lot of time together and appear very close, so they're forced into some situations, you know. Overall, I did really like the theme of like the title of the book and like this vacation and these people that they're with being our main character's happy place. So overall, I had a good time. Like, I will think fondly of this. I will continue to read Emily Henry even if I don't rate her the highest. I do have a good time while I'm reading her books. And so that's my first update for today. I will check back in again later because I have been doing other reading as well. Okay, we all know I didn't come back when I said I was going to, but I'm here now. I am in like right directly in the middle of And Never Let Her Go by Ann Rule, and this story, it's a true crime story about Anne Marie Fahey and Tom Capano. I do feel like I've definitely heard this case before. I'm actually getting quite a bit of like deja vu reading this, where I'm like, have I read this before? But I think I just consume so much true crime things. Sorry, it's like windy and my blinds are making a bunch of noise because my window's open. But I think that I just consume so much true crime that I've definitely heard this story a few times. So I'm not sure that it was necessarily like necessary for me to read this book, but I love Ann Rule's writing style. I don't know why, I just do. So I'm having a very good time reading that. It is super dense. I should look at what my reading speed is because it's so low. Yeah, my average reading speed for this book so far is 34.5 pages an hour, which is like very slow for me. So that's again kind of why I feel like I'm maybe dragging through it, even though I am enjoying it. This video in itself is going to take me quite a bit of time. I will admit that I am simultaneously filming the next jokes episode because these were so dense, and I just have other things that I had to move on to as well. So you'll probably see me go back to work in this vlog, and then in the next jokes vlog see me also go back to work again. So it is what it is. I am choosing to make a decision that I have not done through all of Jokes on Me, which is change my TBR after already telling you my TBR. And I'm going to be changing, I'm not going to be reading The Prince of Broadway anymore for least popular. And I'm making this decision because I just know with reading And Never Let Her Go, which is a huge physical book that's taking me a lot of time, I need an ebook to read, or I'm gonna be like way thrown off on all of my reading, all of my jokes episodes. I have already actually finished the next jokes episode, so I need to just like fix some things here, and the only way I can think to fix them is by being able to read something on my phone. So I went ahead and looked at what was the least popular that I could get an ebook of, like from my library or somewhere. And so that ended up being Game Changer by Neal Shusterman. So I have downloaded that. I'm gonna switch to that for that prompt. I think I had like 5,000 ratings or so, so pretty low still. And so hopefully that'll help me finish this episode faster. We'll see. Hello, I'm happy to be here to report that yesterday I finally finished And Never Let Her Go by Ann Rule. That was my only way to show you the book cover, so I don't have to edit it in while I'm holding Betty. But I did finally finish it, and I really enjoyed it, but I'm struggling with how to rate it because I feel like I can't recommend it to anybody. It is way too dense and way too long, but it's something I really enjoy, and it's also something that I would describe as like if I wasn't someone who like tracked my reading and was trying to read like a certain amount of books or like get these episodes out in a certain amount of time. It's something that would be fun to me to just like read a chapter or two here and there and like get through it when I get through it, but it's just not conducive to like how I read and complete challenges and such. But I also do think that it is just like too long. She harps on about the same things for like way too long, circles back to them, like repeats a lot of stuff, and that book took me 13 hours to read, which is just kind of ridiculous. So I'm giving it a 4-star, which is probably generous because I do think it's good and interesting, but realistically in terms of like if you take my ratings as recommendations to read it or not, it's probably more of like a 3. So I did sit down and just read like the last 5 hours of that I had left yesterday, and I'm hoping today to sit down and finish Game Changer by Neal Shusterman. Chris is gone today. He went to the Vikings game, and I also have a family thing to go to this afternoon, so not sure how realistic this goal is, but I'm about exactly a third of the way through Game Changer, and it would probably take me like 4.5 more hours to finish it, and it's already 11 a.m. But that book is essentially, it's a YA story, and our main character basically keeps getting thrust further into like alternate universes where like just each time it changes, like one more thing is different. And so I'm not really sure like where the plot of that is going to go. My hope would be that somehow he ends up back in like his preferred original universe, but I have no clue at this point. So that's what's up. Mabel's taking a nap. We're clearly just hanging out. So I'm gonna try and get through as much of that as I can right now before I leave and go to the thing, and then hopefully by the time I get home, Chris will be like home relatively close to then. That's my hope. It's probably not realistic. I am here to finally wrap up this vlog. So firstly, I need to tell you what I thought of Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I don't want to harp on about it too long because we did already do a whole live show, and I'll get to talk about it again in my wrap up, but I did not like that book. But I do think that discussing it through the live show did help me realize why I didn't like it as much. Basically, I couldn't connect to it at all, which made it very hard for me to even follow what was going on, like who was who. Not only do I think the writing style just wasn't for me, it didn't work for me at all. I didn't think that the audiobook narrator did a good job, but I also just don't enjoy a story that expects you to have background knowledge of other things, because I rarely do. So like referencing other things, or with this specifically, I think it was assuming that the reader would know some like Arthurian legend things, and I do not. And then on top of that, I just didn't understand the magic. I couldn't connect to the characters, so I was just like so lost through the story that I really couldn't even understand it. Under any other circumstances where I wasn't reading this for the Shelf This Book Club, I would have DNF'd it. So I didn't like it at all. Sorry. But then today, finally, my final book for this vlog, I finished Game Changer by Neal Shusterman. And while I am a huge Neal Shusterman fan, there are Neal Shusterman books that I have read and not enjoyed. The one that comes to mind immediately is Challenger Deep. I didn't like that one at all, but this one I did end up really liking. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't like a perfect book to me, but it did. I feel like anytime I can read a YA book and like love it, and it reminds me that I can still enjoy YA stories, it's a very good feeling. Besides what I've already described of this book being like our main character getting thrust into like alternate realities almost, I do just kind of want to make some other comparisons that maybe might strike the interest of some people by comparing. So I would say that there's elements of this that remind me of The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, as well as Every Day by David Levithan, which I'm a big fan of Every Day by David Levithan, so that's like a positive thing. The Midnight Library I enjoyed, but I think that this story did some aspects of that a little bit better in terms of like if one thing was different, what your life could look like. And the everyday comparison comes from the fact of like if you woke up with different identities and kind of what that would mean for your life. Like you are almost wholly the same except for like one thing about your identity. And so overall, I thought those aspects of Game Changer were very interesting. I do think there's things that could turn people away from this, especially people that I generally talk to and recommend books to. Our main character does start, and through a lot of this book, is a football player, and they do talk quite a bit about him playing high school football. I can somewhat enjoy that, and while the story isn't completely focused on that, it is like there, and I can see certain people not enjoying that. But yeah, overall I had a really good time. Like I said, 4 stars. But that's the end. That's the end of this never-ending episode of Jokes on Me. I'm a little bit embarrassed how long this took me. It's like 2 months, and I will already tell you that my next episode of Jokes on Me is finished. So, and I'm not that proud of that episode either, because I kind of filmed that weird because I wasn't expecting to finish it before I finished this one. So there's a couple weird jokes episodes that are gonna get posted here until stuff is back to normal, so just forgive me. But I hope you enjoyed seeing me get through these books. And again, the episodes like this are really making me crush my actual TBR. So while it maybe wasn't filmed the best, or I maybe didn't execute it the best or linearly, it's doing the purpose of Jokes on Me in that I'm getting through these books on my TBR. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!